So I'm gonna talk about Scanners today. It's a film by this dude, David Lunch. There's these three dudes and they're all friends, and I know they're friends because they're all wearing the same clothes. And they're in like a mall or something, and they're playing hide and seek. One guy runs off, but they catch him. The main character, his name's Mr. Robot. And I call him Mr. Robot because the doctor's like, hey man, you probably didn't know this, but you're a robot built to look like a human. Happy birthday, you're turning 35. And this is a great example of world building. I try not to use industry slang too much. World building is like, it lets us connect to the show. In real life, we have birthdays. In this movie, they have birthdays. So it's the dude's birthday. He's turning 35. A lot of people come in probably to wish him happy birthday or something. And then there's these two other dudes. One of them's named iRobot. And he's in a staring contest with this other dude. And then all of a sudden, boom, the other dude's head, it explodes. And you don't know why. And a bunch of people, they tackle iRobot and they inject him with heroin and they put him in a car. And then they shoot themselves, and I don't know why. It's kind of crazy, so iRobot, like, runs away. And so then it cuts back to the doctor and Mr. Robot. And he's like, oh no, I'm a robot. What does that mean? He's like, the doctor's like, well, we call you Scanners because since you're a robot, you don't actually see things. You just scan them. And the guy's like, oh man, that's crazy. I didn't know that about myself. I've been a robot the whole time. And the doctor's like, yeah, I have even more to tell you. I need you to find iRobot or you'll make other people's heads explode. And Mr. Robot's like, well, that sounds bad. Where do I start? And he goes and he talks to this artist, and the dude draws like a bunch of heads or something. I don't know, I don't get it. But then he tells him, you gotta go talk to this old chick. And then Mr. Robot's like, I'm gonna go find that old chick. So he finds her, and she's like hanging out with a bunch of dudes, and people get shot or something. And he's like, hey, why don't you run away with me? And she's like, I can tell you're a robot made to look like a human. And he's like, well, how did you know that? And she's like, I have psychic powers. I don't know why, but she has them. She's not a robot or anything. So Mr. Robot and Psychic Powers old granny, they go and they talk to the doctor. And the doctor's like, you need to hack into the mainframe. And Mr. Robot's like, how do we do that? And the doctor's like, you're a robot, just plug yourself in. So he picks up a phone and he's like, hello, operator, I'd like to talk to the mainframe. And all these scientists are like, oh no, he's talking to the mainframe, it's a robot. So, they turn it off and they're like, we better go hunt him down. They get captured. And in order to run away, Psychic Old Chick reveals her true form, which is that of a granny. So she's just like a grandmother. So anyways, all the guys run away. They're like, I don't want to shoot a granny. And while they're running away, iRobot, he comes in. And Mr. Robot's like, oh, not today, iRobot. Me and you are getting in a staring contest. And iRobot's like, you'll never beat me in a staring contest, Mr. Robot. And Mr. Robot's like, you're on. And they start staring at each other. One of them is going to die and have their head explode. Mr. Robot, he starts clawing his human face off to reveal his robot face and give himself more power. Somehow, iRobot catches on fire, and it cuts away. Then all of a sudden, old psychic granny comes in, and Mr. Robot put on iRobot's face because he peeled off his old face. And he's like, I am robot.